technology. I've got a really bright light behind me here. I look like I'm glowing, don't I?
You do, very angelic, I think. It's very nice.
But it hides the lack of hair, so that's all good, really.
I didn't even notice. I thought you had a full head. That's how good the light is. So there you go.
I should have kept my mouth shut.
Well, for our students who have stuck around through me talking for 6 minutes, Colin's joining us from Crocodiles of the World. Education there. He is more passionate about crocodiles and alligators than most of us will be about anything in our lives. And so I'm really excited to bring him in for our first broadcast to highlight a little bit about this amazing world with some of the most unique and incredible creatures on this planet. So Colin, if you want to take us away, go for it.
Absolutely. Well, hello everyone. Again, apologies for the delay in the start. What I'm going to do is tell you a little bit about crocodiles and alligators. I'm trying to hide that bright light behind me, but everywhere I look, there's a bright light. Tell you a little bit about crocodiles and alligators today. Hopefully, some of you were wondering what the difference between crocs and alligators, so we're going to cover that. Show you a few crocodiles and alligators, including a little baby one. We're going to grab one of those out for you in just a few minutes, really. So, and once I've finished talking, we'll open it up for some questions. And hopefully I'll have the answers for you. So I'm going to explain a little bit about what we do here at Crocodiles of the World as well. So we're starting here. I don't know whether I can spin my camera around, just saying hooray to everyone else.
You should
see you guys. We're all just heading out there. Yeah, can I turn my camera around? How do I do that?
Should be.
Because I want you guys to see some of the crocodiles rather than...
Depends on your camera setup. It should just be right on the screen for you if you want to do that. In worst case, you can just turn the camera around and highlight it for us.
What do I do? Sorry, the camera?
It depends on your camera. No, you turn the camera off. There we go. There should be a button on the camera that allows you to do that. So I'm gonna put you in the background while you're figuring that out. I'll let you try and play with that. A quick note for our folks on YouTube, if you are joining us for the first time, please do be respectful in the YouTube chat. We want to make sure that teachers have the chance to ask questions there. Colin almost got it. Worst case, as I said, you can just turn your phone around and point it at what you're trying to share with us today. This is our fun broadcast with all the tech flaws today. I'm excited.
I think I might be turning my my phone around to show you guys some of the animals. So, what I'm going to do, I'm going to spin the phone around right now. Hopefully I'll be aiming in the right direction. It's a bit awkward for me not being able to see what I'm aiming at, but let's see how we go here. What we got here is a bunch of dwarf caimans. Now, hopefully some of you guys are wondering, what on earth is a dwarf caiman? Caimans are part of the alligator family. So just think of a caiman as an alligator from South America. We know there's crocodiles, we know there's alligators. There's also caimans. There's also a strange looking croc that lives in India and Nepal, and they're called gharials. We don't have any of those to show you today, but these dwarf caimans are beautiful things. If I just stand back a little bit, see their enclosure. We tried to mimic the Amazon a little bit of a stream running through the Amazon. We've got some turtles and some fishies in the water as well. A lot of people question us over that one. Do the crocodiles eat the fish? The answer is usually not, but sometimes. We can't stop them, but these are the little fishies. It's really not worth the caiman's effort, really, to eat the fish that are in this enclosure. And they're not silly. People don't understand crocodiles. They're actually quite smart. And these crocodiles know that it's a lot easier to wait for us to come along and hand some nice big chunks of food to them than to chase a fishy around their enclosure. And once they get it, it's so small, it really wasn't worth the effort. So the crocodiles would prefer to wait for us to feed them. Now, while this guy is sitting here like this, he's a male, he's beautiful. Just going under the water there a little bit. We can see his teeth. And with this guy, we can only see teeth pointing downward. With this guy, his top jaw is bigger than his lower jaw. It overlaps. So when he closes his mouth, we only see teeth pointing down. And that's a characteristic of the alligators and the caimans. It's one way we can tell a crocodile from an alligator. If their mouth is closed and we can just see teeth pointing down, then it's an alligator. If we can see teeth pointing up and down, especially some very prominent teeth, then it's a crocodile. Yeah, he's just been disturbed by the turtle. He's saying, clear off. I was nice and comfortable there. Just going to move back a little bit here. And what I'm going to do now is walk over and show you a very big crocodile skull. Just zipping around here. Now, you'll have to let me know if I'm aiming in the wrong position.
You're aiming perfectly, Colin. How cool is that?
That's excellent. This is a beauty. This is a big saltwater crocodile. It is a replica skull. It's not a real skull. They cost far too much. But it is life-size. This is based or cast from a real saltwater crocodile skull. You can see my hand there for scale. The crocodile that would have belonged to this skull was probably around about 5.2 meters long. That's around about 17 feet long. If you've always wondered what it would be like to be gobbled up by a crocodile, let me open these jaws and you can see what it would be like inside. People ask us all the time, if a crocodile this size grabbed you, what do you do? And the answer is, I don't know. You do anything you can think of. They're so powerful, it's quite phenomenal. Massive skull. One thing that confuses a few people is, if you can see these two holes right here, a lot of people assume they're the nostrils. They're not. In the living animal, this is where two of the lower teeth would have gradually worn holes in the top jaw over the years. This is where the nose is located. These are where the eyes are located, and this is where the ear is located. So the ears, the eyes, and the nose are all on the top plane of the head. So crocodiles can hide their body in murky river water especially, and a few little bumps sticking out of the water are the nose, the eyes, and the ears. So that crocodile can see, hear, smell, and breathe from that position. But anything on the riverbank that's looking into the water doesn't see much at all, is really unsure. Especially, imagine if the water was a bit murky and there was some plants or something floating in the water. Anything standing on the bank wouldn't really know if anything was there, but there could be a 5-meter crocodile sitting there looking at them. Now, we just mentioned one of the key differences between crocodiles and alligators is the teeth. In this model here, we can see these grooves, and when this mouth is closed, there's some very prominent teeth that are visible from the lower jaw, fitting outside, so nice and visible with the mouth closed. So that's a key difference, as I said before, with crocodiles and alligators. Another key difference, bit hard to see in this little fellow, but crocodiles have glands. All crocodiles have glands on their tongue that get rid of excess salt. So if they've been swimming around in salty water, crocodiles can get rid of the excess salt and keep their body in balance, whereas alligators cannot do that. Alligators and caimans are restricted to fresh water. They can go for a bit of a swim like we could in salt water, but sooner or later they have to get back into fresh water. They can't cope, whereas crocodiles, it's almost indefinitely. That's another key difference between the two. Rightio. Let me wander around and show you something else. So bear with me as we walk along here. I need to grab my cup of tea. Always need my cup of tea. And here we are at another crocodile enclosure. We don't just have crocodiles here. We do have animals like Galapagos tortoises and Komodo dragons. We also have a small mammal section, but we're going to concentrate on crocs and alligators today. This enclosure here is for our dwarf crocodiles. These are an African species, fully grown. They're not going to get any bigger than that. They're about 5 foot long, I suppose. Biggest size that these guys would get to in the wild is probably around about 6 foot, maybe a little bit closer to 2 meters, but that would be quite a large one. So about 1.8 meters or about 6 foot long. Now you may be able to see that big pile, big mound of wood chips and vegetation over the back there. That's where the female, she has done that. She has scraped all of the bark. You can see, if I show you the floor of their enclosure that was covered in in lovely substrate. It looked really pretty, but she scraped all that together into that big pile, and that is her nest. And over the next few days, certainly within the next week, we're expecting her to lay her eggs within that nest. We then have to go in there, we have to collect the eggs, and then choose to incubate or not, or to usually what we do if we don't wish to incubate and hatch out any baby crocs, we usually donate them to a pretty good science program that's running with the Natural History Museum in London, so we donate them to that project. But these crocodiles here, like all crocodiles, they don't really like us being in there and disturbing that nest. Crocodiles and alligators are excellent mums and dads. So as soon as they lay those eggs, they get extremely defensive, and they will try their best to stop us from taking those eggs. So it is somewhat dangerous depending on the species. The female here is actually quite a feisty little girl, and she presents more of a problem usually than the really big crocodiles, strangely enough. And she continually comes at us. So we have to take in big wooden boards to stop her from either hurting herself or hurting one of us, and just block her view and block her access to the nest while we remove the eggs, flatten the nest, and then let her go about her way. She usually partly rebuilds the nest. That's up to her. She's allowed to. And then we, as I said before, choose what we wish to do with the eggs. And a little bit more on that in a minute, because it is a bit of a confusing subject, really, for a lot of people as to what we do with the eggs that we collect from the crocodiles here. Rightio, I'm going to move on now. We're walking past some snakes that look like they're asleep. They've turned the lights off on me, so I'm going to turn some lights on. There we go. And what we're going to do is we're going to walk up and we're going to have a look. Hopefully you can hear me over the beautiful waterfall we've got here. Hopefully you can see that big alligator lurking over the back there. His name is Albert. He's about 28, 29 years old. He's a nice big male alligator. And just down here below me, watching me, is Daisy. Daisy's a similar age to Albert. She's the wife, he's the husband, and they have in fact bred nicely for us. And she's got a nice big round tummy right back towards the back legs. You can see it's quite rounded. So we know she's developing some eggs, but probably be another 6 to 8 weeks before she builds her nest and lays her eggs within. And this year we're going to be hatching out a few of the babies from Albert and Daisy. There's quite a demand for American alligators here in Europe for within the zoo world. So we'll probably hatch a few out. And also people like to see them close up when we have school groups in. And American alligators are very, very good for us to use in our education programs. We just have to be careful that we're not overrun with young alligators, and keep in mind that little baby American alligators soon end up big adult American alligators. So we can't just keep breeding them and expect to find homes for all of them. We have to be a bit more responsible with those. Now, Albert over there, and hopefully I'm going to show you a close-up when we grab one of the young animals out in a minute. We can see Albert, and he's sitting under that special light. While we're looking at it, that light may switch off. It is on a timer, but that's pretending it's the sun. It's providing Albert and Daisy, when they sit there, with special rays of light to help their bones grow and help their immune system stay nice and strong. There's also, for most of the day, a really hot light or a heater. It's mounted on the wall. Even now, even with that light off or that heater switched off, it's actually quite warm inside this building, but not so warm as it was where I was a minute ago, the other building. The visitors to Crocodiles of the World are used to English temperatures. You may have noticed from the way I speak, I'm not native to England, I'm Australian. So the temperatures inside the building are much more favourable to me. I don't really like the weather most of the time outside. But the reason we keep these buildings nice and warm is, of course, we've got all these reptiles. Now, some of you guys may be familiar with the term cold-blooded, and that reptiles are cold-blooded. It's a funny term. It's not a very good term, really, because it gives people the impression that these animals have cold blood. They don't. All it means is they can't regulate their own body temperature. You guys can. You can regulate your own body temperature, and you're doing it all the time. If you go outside and it's a bit cool, all you have to do is put a coat on. Your warm little body, as soon as you got a jacket or a coat on, your warm little body heats up, within that coat. The coat keeps that heat near your skin and keeps you nice and cozy and comfy. If we took one of our reptiles, one of our crocodiles or alligators, or even one of the lizards or snakes outside on a cool day, if we put a jacket on them to warm them up, it wouldn't do anything except look a bit funny, a bit silly, because they don't have that warm body. They can't generate the heat themselves. It has to be provided to them. That's why you find most of the reptiles, and especially some of the bigger ones, in around the warmer parts of the planet. In the cooler parts of the planet, not so many reptiles. It's a bit tougher for them to survive in those cooler climates. So we need to be very, very careful with the temperatures here and keep it nice and warm. And that's one thing that people do. They walk into Crocs of the World and straight away their sunglasses or their normal reading glasses fog up, which is kind of funny because it's hot and humid inside. And the first thing they do then is take their jackets off, because it is tropical temperatures, usually about 28, 29, 30 degrees inside the buildings here, which is quite a cost for us here in England, but we do our best and try to do it as efficiently as possible. So we try to keep the environment in mind as well, so we're not using all that electricity. So we have a special way of doing that that's a little bit nicer and kinder to the planet. Now, I'm going to wander around to where we have some baby crocodiles and show you a baby crocodile close up. See if this guy is visible. I'll just show you this little lizard here. I can't wander too far. Oh, he's right in the corner. So you may be able to probably just see his back and his tail there. Some of these animals, they know exactly where to sit, don't they? Yep, she's asleep. You can see her. One thing people do ask all the time is, do crocodiles and alligators sleep? The answer is, like most animals, they doze. Sorry, I know you're looking at a wall right now. I've been locked out of my room. I just have to
They really didn't do you well there, Colin. You locked you out. They turned off the lights. What are they doing?
I can't quite tell you exactly what I'm thinking right now.
It's okay. The water's in my apartment too. It's just been a half hour.
Let's put it this way: it's not complimentary of them. Let's just put it that way. Now,
all right, well, let's see the baby crocodiles and we'll all get over it together.
Yeah. Rightio. First of all, there's our Crocodiles of the World sign. Isn't that pretty? And there is an egg. That, believe it or not, is the egg of one of our crocodiles. Compared to my hand, a lot of people just assume that crocodile eggs must be massive because they think crocodiles probably pop out of their eggs at huge sizes. Not true. Most of them are less than 1 foot or less than 30 centimeters when they pop out of their egg. So the reality is, crocodiles, when they hatch out of their eggs, are so small, most of them in the wild will be eaten by something. A lot of them are eaten from within the egg. The predators will attack the nest, and even though mum will do her best to protect the eggs from those predators, she can't do it all. She's not quite as agile as some of these predators. So a lot of the eggs will be consumed, and when they hatch out, they're so small. Do as best as she can to protect them. A lot of those little babies are so small and so helpless that unfortunately they're going to be eaten. Now in here we have some baby. They're kind of special ones. These are called tomistoma. Now that's a bit of a funny word. I understand it's probably hard for some people to say. It's certainly not a crocodile that most people have heard of, and we don't understand why people don't hear of these things. They're beautiful. They are kind of endangered. Officially, they're vulnerable. I'm going to grab this little fella. Hey, 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 hey. There they are there. Kind of unique, really, aren't they? Beautiful colour. These guys come from Indonesia and Malaysia, that part of the world. You can see by their colours, beautiful brown colouring. Where they live, it's quite dark. One of their key habitats is the peat swamp forests within Indonesia and Malaysia, and that is a habitat that is disappearing. It's being converted for use in palm oil plantations, and I think a lot of you may have heard that those palm oil plantations are affecting animals like orangutans, removing their habitat. But for we in the crocodile field, it's this species that we are a little bit concerned about, because it's some of their habitat that is disappearing as well. Now they have a very narrow jaw. He's a bit wriggly, he's allowed to be, and it's really hard with one hand. See how narrow that jaw is. So baby crocodiles, they are so small. This guy's about 8 months old now. Very, very small. They have to eat little things. So rather than all those documentaries that show you big crocodiles eating wildebeest and zebras, little baby crocodiles have to start out eating bugs, little insects, little frogs, little fish, things like that. They just eat progressively larger things as they grow. This species, tomistoma, they will end up, the males, certainly over 4 metres, probably almost invariably over 4.5 metres long, with a few of them occasionally getting close to or just exceeding 5 metres in length. This is a very big species of crocodile. And as I said before, strangely one that people don't hear very much of. Now, they are officially vulnerable on the IUCN red list, but just because we get eggs doesn't mean we necessarily wish to incubate, because the assumption is that zoos must hatch out all these little baby crocodiles that are endangered, ready to release them back into the wild. But just because something's critically endangered, it doesn't mean they're critically endangered because there's not many in the wild. It means they're critically endangered because that wild population is under threat. And it could be many threats. It could be direct threats to the animals or to their habitat, to prey species, or just to that region of the world. There may be a lot of difficulties. So releasing animals back into that situation is not the greatest idea. The best idea is to work with organisations in that part of the world to remove or reduce those threats. Once the threats are minimised and things are a little more stable, that's when you can assess whether you need to release some young ones back into the area to repopulate. So yeah, conservation is not quite as straightforward as people sort of imagine. And now a little bit about this guy. He is a wriggler, isn't he?
If you
can see on his back.
If it's hard to hold him, you can certainly put him back. He's beautiful, though. What a gorgeous animal.
Yeah, what I'm going to do is just quickly show you these little bumps on his back. Each bump on his back is actually a plate of bone within the skin. That protects crocodiles, but it also is a solar panel. When they sit in the sun, those little bumps, those little bony plates under the skin help him to warm up. The long tail is for swimming. They do not kick their little tootsies when they swim. The tail is for swimming. The legs are folded alongside the body when they swim. So a lot of people see the little feet and think, oh, little tootsies, they must kick them when they're swimming. Not at all. Let's just pop him back there. Good on you, little fella. There's his little friends there. Now, you notice also we've got an awful lot of decor in here. There's a lot of logs and rocks and things like that. That's because that baby crocodiles, they want to hide from things. It's as simple as that. Sometimes we do get our visitors not really complaining, but asking, you know, can we see the crocodiles? And like I've just done now, showing you guys the crocodile close up, that's fine and dandy. That's not really upsetting it too much if we do it occasionally. But if we were to do this every single day and multiple times a day, we would be stressing those animals out, which we don't want to do. Naturally, these animals want to hide. So I'm going to put their hide back in place.
Excellent.
And they will spend most of their time hiding away now. I'll just spin it around so you can see me now.
Perfect. Yeah, if it's good for you, I'd love to dive in with questions. We've got about 10 minutes left. It's been such a fantastic, neat thing to see our little baby friend there. And yeah, I can dive in with our live classes if that works for you. And if you want to show us anything else, you can always walk there to get there while we're taking some questions, if that works.
No worries. Yeah, go ahead with the questions. All fine and dandy.
Lovely. By the way, I want to say how delightful it was that you grabbed a cup of tea. You continue our trend of every single UK speaker we've ever had on with a cup of tea. So thank you for that very much.
Yeah, that's right. You've got to keep up the since I'm Australian, I must say it's a herbal tea that I'm having, not a normal tea.
That's fair too. I have some of those as well. Let's head for our first question to Miss Stott. So Miss Stott's joining us in Holstein, Ontario, Canada. Come on in, guys.
Hello.
Hi, how you going?
Good, how are you?
Good, good.
So one of our students said he really, really likes Komodo dragons, and he heard you mention them in the presentation. He's wondering how you got them and what their environment there is like.
Okay, I wouldn't be able to show you the environment, unfortunately, because it's out of our Wi-Fi zone, so I would just cut out. We got this as we're part of all the zoo associations, European, the American, the Australasian. They have special programs, endangered species programs, which is all coordinated by a single zoo usually, and their job is to make sure that all the conditions in all the zoos for particular species are optimal. So we got the Komodo dragon through the European endangered species program, basically for Komodo dragons. And as such, everyone that does have a Komodo dragon in Europe contributes to a particular conservation program aimed at Komodo dragons. So that's how we got it. We wanted to participate in this program and help conservation of them in the wild. His enclosure is quite large. It's probably about 20 to 25 meters by about 10, 15 meters. It's kept quite warm. We dip the temperatures a little bit at night time, of course, but sometimes in the day where he basks, it would be around about 50 degrees, which he seems to like. And the enclosure is quite tropical, so lots of plants, lots of dirt for him to scramble around, a few rocks and logs for him to climb over. We want to try to keep him active. So, yeah, that's how we got him. And as I say, I can describe it, but unfortunately I can't show you his enclosure without dropping out.
Yeah, that's totally fine. Thank you for that. By the way, Miss Stott, what rounds you guys are in our crocodiles presentation, starting off with a lizard question. Way to go. I want to share too for anyone who's keen on Komodo dragons. We actually had a Komodo dragon researcher on our broadcast of the biotest. So his name is Ardi Antono. Check him out on YouTube. Really, really great program if you want to learn more about that. For now, though, let's head to San Diego for Miss Becker's class. If you guys want to join us, go for it. Hi, Miss Becker. Oh, unmute your mic. There we go. No worries.
All right. Hi, Colin. Nice to see you. Thank you so much. One of our questions is, do crocodiles and reptiles then, do they hold their breath underwater when they're swimming, or how long can they?
That's an excellent question. Depends on the bit on the temperature of the water, but mainly it depends on the age and the size of the crocodile. Those little baby ones, like that little Tomistoma that you just saw, he could probably stay underwater for 15, 20 minutes, maybe a little bit longer. But his father, because he was bred here, his father's around about 12 foot long, and he routinely sits at the bottom of his pond for an hour or two. There was one crocodile, a saltwater crocodile, that was recorded in Australia in the wild. It was submerged for over 8 hours. So crocodiles and alligators are capable of holding their breath for an awful long time. They do hold their breath. They can't breathe underwater. So that's what they're doing. Crocodiles do have a tongue when they open their mouth. The bottom, what you see on the inside of their bottom jaw is their tongue, but right up the back they press basically a flap against the roof of their mouth, and that provides a watertight, airtight seal so they can open their mouth underwater. They don't have lips anyway, so water can get into their mouth, but no water can get any further than the back of their mouth. Can't get into their throat or into their lungs or tummy. And I don't want to go into too much details, we don't have time, but partly how they're doing these long dives is crocodilians. It's the term for crocodiles and alligators. Crocodilians have the most complex heart of any vertebrate yet studied. These are not primitive prehistoric creatures. These things are extremely advanced animals, amazingly designed, amazingly adapted to their environment. Beautiful, beautiful animals.
They sure are. You're such a passionate champion for them. I've never heard the heart thing before. That is very, very cool. I love that.
Yeah, 200 years of studying crocodilian hearts, and we still don't quite know all of the features. It's too complex.
I love it. How neat is that? Guys, we've got time for about 4 more questions. I'm going to take a couple from YouTube and Miss Simunji's class in our Room 1 group. Let me take one that we've gotten a whole bunch on YouTube. So it is, how big can a full-grown saltwater crocodile get? Seems to be a lot of understanding that they're the biggest. How big are they getting, Colin?
I'm sorry, I missed that. How big can they get, did you say?
Yeah, how big or how long can a saltwater crocodile get? How heavy, how long?
Fair enough. Currently, the biggest saltwater crocodile in captivity is just over 5.5 meters, so around or just over 18 feet long. That's in captivity in Australia. Recently, when I say recently, about 5 or so years ago, unfortunately, a crocodile died in the Philippines. It was in captivity for a fairly short period of time. That crocodile was over 6 meters long, over 20 foot long, and it weighed more than 1 ton. So with baby crocodiles, their growth rate is so enormous for some of these large species. They would go from about 70 or 80 grams, maybe 90 grams when they pop out of their egg. They can exceed 7, 8, even 900 kilograms as adults, which is a 10,000-fold increase in mass over their lifetime. And that lifetime extends to over 50 or 60 years. They can occasionally live longer into their 70s or 80s, but certainly over 50 or 60 years is the lifespan of crocodilians.
You answered, I think, 4 of the next questions I was going to ask all at once there.
Excellent.
I don't throw. Let's go to Room 1 first. Miss Simunji, if you want to unmute your mic or turn on your camera, I'll come to you to wrap us up in a minute. But Room 1, you guys want to come on in? Go for it.
Room 1.
Hi, guys.
Hello there. We had lots. I'm going to turn you around so you can see some of the kids in our classroom. We have lots of questions, but one of our questions are, are they related to, I think I might have lost you. Can you still hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. We're good.
Were they related to dinosaurs? And then we also wanted to know, do they eat plants, or are they just meat eaters?
Yeah.
Okay, both good questions. They're not directly related to dinosaurs as such, but they do share ancestors with the dinosaurs. So there would have been a relatively common ancestor between crocodiles and dinosaurs. but the family tree branches off. One branch become what we know today as the crocodiles and alligators. Another branch went on to become the dinosaurs. That branch then, or obviously one part of that branch after it split died off with the dinosaurs, but another part of that dinosaur branch went on to become what we know today as the birds. So when we look at that part of the family tree, the two living relatives that share a most recent ancestor are crocodiles and birds, not crocodiles and lizards, crocodiles and snakes, crocodiles and birds. And actually, some of their insides are they do share some amazing characteristics with birds. So crocodiles and alligators, and birds. Who'd have thought it? They don't really look like chickens, do they? But there you go. As far as vegetables go, crocodilians are definitely carnivores. They eat prey, and they prey on other animals. They are occasionally, however, seen to eat vegetation, fruits, nuts, things like that. Sometimes it's just curiosity. They'll be just having a pick at something that may be floating on the surface. Sometimes in captivity, it may be a nutrient deficiency. Maybe what the zoo is feeding them is not quite complete as far as all the vitamins and minerals it needs, or it may be just a bit bored and it's just picking out some fruit and veg in that regard. But generally, they are carnivores. I jokingly say that crocodilians are not vegetarians, but they do eat vegetarians. They do need vegetable matter, but they usually get it from the body of their prey.
Thank you for that. And I love the relationship story. I was sharing this in the chat with some folks as well, but the idea that a chicken and a crocodile are probably like two of the closest related things is wild to think about, and fantastical and wonderful. And I love biology for that reason.
Funny old world.
Time flies and you're having fun. We've got time for our one more question. We've got at least 10 full groups in addition to our live group. So about 350 kids across the continent are tuning in.
You know what I'm happy to do. Any of the questions that we run out of time for, I'm more than happy for them to send them along to you, and then you forward them to me. I will respond to each and every one of them.
Wow.
I'd rather respond to questions than have them go unanswered.
I will follow up with all our registered classes. So if you guys do have more questions, please ask them, and we'll make sure we can put you in touch with Colin to get that done. Sounds great.
No worries.
We'll do one more though live, as we might as well. So Miss Sanunji's class, I know you've got 2 devices on, so this might work. Let's see. Can you hear me? Maybe. How about this device? How about now? Oh, not seem to be working, but they did share the questions in the chat. So Miss Sanunji's class, they wanted to know how many types of crocodilians are there in the whole world, Colin?
How many? Sorry, how many?
Yeah, types of crocodiles are there in the whole world?
Oh, okay. Currently, there are 26 species recognized of crocodiles and alligators. The reason I say currently is science is a bit of a fluid thing at the moment. Because of genetics, they can now look at what was a very, very wide-ranging species and determine whether that is actually one species or it's actually a complex of 2 or 3 either species or subspecies. So currently there's 26 species of crocodilians recognized.
Colin, this has been so much fun. I'm sorry we started a little late. There was a bit of tech difficulties for everyone involved. But
yeah, apologies again for that.
Oh, more me than you. Everything's going wrong today, but that's okay because we ended up with a fantastic program highlighting such amazing creatures. The feedback's been tremendous, and so I know it's your first time with us. We'd love to have you on in the future, but for now, for your first broadcast, what I want to do is just bring in all our live groups to say a big thank you and farewell to you. So, Miss Becker, room 1.
Thank you.